Manny Mother Machado. And that's just one of the big name owners that are invested in this squad we call San Diego FC. Juan Mata, anyone? Tune in to find out more about the owners and the organization that is SDFC. What are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? What's kind of the mission, the values? What are they bringing to the community? What are they bringing to San Diego? This is the Penalty Kick Podcast, and I am your host, Mike Gio. So if you've been following SDFC, it is not quite time for the season yet. We haven't even really started preseason games. We have had a couple, or at least one that has happened behind closed doors as of now on January 25th, I believe it was. And then we have another closed door preseason game on February 1st. And since we can't see what's happening on the pitch, you know we got to talk about what's happening off the pitch. Also, to my San Diego Wave FC fans, we're going to be bringing you more content. Their season starts a little bit later in mid-March, so we'll be breaking down all the off-season stuff a little bit later. But you know, right now, San Diego FC is the talk of the town. It's the shiny new object, and it is looking good from an organizational standpoint in terms of what they're bringing to San Diego. I'm actually really excited. I got my master's a little bit later in life. I got my undergrad degree a little bit later in life, but what I studied in my master's program was organizational leadership. I like looking at how organizations are run, how organizations are led, what are they doing as far as reciprocal relationships with the individuals that they're working with. In this case, San Diego FC, not only as a city, but with fans and with, individuals that they are working with, in terms of advertising, in terms of marketing, all those types of things, right? We won't go too far into the depths. I won't nerd out too much, even though I nerd out about this a lot, but we got to get into what they bringing to San Diego. And like I said, a lot of what I'm seeing is absolutely phenomenal. So this episode, we're going to give them their flowers, but I have another episode about the brand, the optics, what it looks like in terms of, the logo and stuff like that. And let me tell you, Mike Gio a little bit hot. So we're going to go into that a little bit later, but this episode, we are going to give San Diego FC their flowers because they've been doing a lot of cool stuff around the communities that they are trying to tap into. And so I wanted to find like an ethos, a theme. What, again, are they trying to bring to the community? What is their guiding light? What is the path, the direction they're trying to take? One thing I kind of consistently found, doing my research on their website and those types of things was a theme of like woven into one. So they've also been promoting the communities, the 18 communities. They also call it 18 Threads, which is the 18 threads of San Diego, and they're trying to weave that into one. So weaving all these communities together, how do they do that? How do they bring that? Because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually do it. And we know there's a lot of people, a lot of companies that say they're for change, or they say that they're for weaving a community into one, but that's a lot of talk because we know action sometimes speaks louder than your words. And I'm all about behavior and habits because that's what creates your culture. And a good culture within an organization makes it worthwhile, makes it a very lucrative thing to have in our community. And so this is what we're going to look at. And I really, really wanted to start with kind of that theme. So what are they doing to show that they're trying to weave the communities into one, that they're trying to bring these 18 communities of San Diego together? And what are they trying to promote? And that starts at the top. It starts with the ownership groups. It starts with the people, because people make the difference, right? And good people in your organization usually are going to create a good organization. We did have owners in San Diego, Spanos family, too soon, anyone? That really wanted to take a little bit more than they were giving to the community because they wanted a lot more tax money than the taxpayers were ready to pay. And I think rightfully so, because this is a billionaire family that has just insane amounts of money. They could have pitched in a little more into the community because in the end, it all would have came back to them anyway. Big shout out to the Chargers for making the playoffs. I love Jim Harbaugh. That's just a human being I love following. I love his energy. So big shout out to the Chargers. I have tons of Chargers fans in San Diego. But let's be real. Let's call it how we see it, right? And, I think that was one of those issues that we were having with that ownership group. This ownership group, I think, has come in just doing all the right things. And, I'm going to start naming, some individuals. And I hopefully won't go too far into the depths because, again, I could nerd out on this stuff all day. The first individual, the head honcho that we will need to talk about and of is Mohammed Mansour. This is the individual that really is the leader of this project and has kind of invested a lot, obviously, into the project and is bringing a lot of other investors and a lot of other ownership into it. So we'll start with Mohammed, British Egyptian. So he has an international lens, which I absolutely love because if you know anything about soccer is an absolute international sport. It's a sport of the world. The entire world plays soccer, right? It's not like American football where, hey, now it's going to, games in Mexico, in, England, but it's not happening all over the world. Kids aren't playing this all over the world. Soccer is one of those sports where it is absolutely played all over the world. So the international lens, I think, is just absolutely awesome. Another thing, this individual, has a company called Man Capital. So it's an investment firm. And so I wanted to look into that a little bit of like, what is the ethos of something that this individual is already working on, and what's kind of their strategy of investing and how do they invest? I found this very, very interesting and I absolutely love it. I love working towards social causes. And, I'm going to read something real quick, but it's investing in impact and purpose, social impact, environmental investment, and nurturing the next generation is their investment strategy. Yep. I love that, right? Because money, I don't think is an inherently bad thing. I don't think organizations and how they get money are inherently bad. But just because an organization has the ability to do things and invest in things, they could still invest in pretty bad things, right? Bad people still can make money. And so I love seeing when organizations are taking an approach that helps other people. And this is something that, I think is just absolutely awesome. This individual is trying to invest in impact. How does he impact communities? How does he impact the next generation? And one thing, that we'll get into a little bit later in this episode is the Right to Dream Academy. And this individual started the Right to Dream Academy, which is a soccer academy that started in Ghana in the 1990s. I won't go too far into it, but that allows young individuals who might not have the opportunity to not only maybe play a game they love at a competitive level at, per se, pretty much a professional level, even, at that young age, they might not be able to get great education. And obviously that's what, this academy can do is bring in individuals that might not have that opportunity. And now they're giving them that opportunity. And that is just indicative of what I've seen about Mohammed and what he is working on, working with intention, which again, I absolutely love. I love when people give back as much as they can, but also for the hard work, hopefully you get something as well. Again, it doesn't need to be a bad relationship. It can be a good relationship and all parties win. But this next thing really endeared me to Mohammed. And I've never met Mohammed. I might not ever meet Mohammed. And I just love what I've been reading about the individual. I'm just glad he came to San Diego and he's going to be a part of San Diego. But what showed me a lot is, who do you want to invest with, right? There's obviously other owners in this group and I can't go through all of them, but shout out all the owners and the ones that I'm going to go through. I hope I give you a little bit of shine, but again, shout out all the other owners that are in on this project. But this one told me everything that I need to know. The co-owner, one of the co-owners to this big project is the Sequan Band of the Kumeyaay Nation. I love this. I don't know if there's anything more San Diego than the indigenous tribes of San Diego prior to their ever even being a San Diego, right? The OGs before they were OGs. And I just love seeing them get opportunity, seeing them get shine, seeing economic opportunity showing up on their land in their space. Absolutely love this. This to me shows that Mohammed came in here with intention to weave into the culture of San Diego. Also, when we're talking about social impact, the economic impact that the Right to Dream Academy and the practice fields and the investment and return on investment, ROI, you got to always worry about that ROI. The return on investment is going to be phenomenal, not only for the people in the Sequan Band of the Kumeyaay Nation, but everyone in that area is also going to benefit from this. I just love the indigenous culture getting their shine. I watched the press conferences when, they kind of opened the practice fields and everything. And I just loved it. I love seeing their culture. I love seeing everyone's culture. I love sharing in culture and sharing in that beauty of culture. And again, if there's OGs before there were OGs, we got to shout out the indigenous cultures that were here prior to myself ever being here. And so this is another really, really great thing, because not only, obviously, again, are they getting shine, are they getting that economic benefit from all this, but they're also breaking glass ceilings, right? They're breaking boundaries, because they are the first ever Native American ownership group in soccer or in football. San Diego FC, you could tell this is not something that they're going to just implant, take from San Diego as much as they can and then bounce. They're trying to weave themselves, integrate themselves into San Diego. And they, along with us, are trying to make San Diego America's finest soccer city. And so I absolutely love it. I'm totally amped about that. I hope I get to go to the practice fields one day and go over there and see what's going on over there. So that would be exciting. And oh yeah, Canelo Alvarez was there. Also, as we started, Manny Machado. You got to love it. Got to love it. Obviously, not from San Diego, but he's been in San Diego for a long time. He's called San Diego his second home. He's originally from Miami. So I love seeing him being a part of this, because that's just, again, it's going to bring shine to the team. It's also obviously not his main sport. He's a great baseball player. Gold gloves, platinum gloves, silver slugger. This dude has been part of San Diego for a little bit of time now. And I remember when I first moved here about 12 years ago, the Padres were not a good baseball team, and I'm not really big into baseball, but I liked going to the games. Petco Park is one of the nicest, most beautiful parks you can go to. So I used to still love going to the games, but obviously when he got signed, the environment of the Padres, the environment of San Diego changed. He was part of that. So I love seeing him there. Love having Manny Machado there. And, Manny Machado is probably going to call this his second home for, quite a long time, which I absolutely love. But another big name, Juan Mata. And for those who don't maybe watch soccer as ridiculously as I do, because I just digest an insane amount of soccer, this individual was a Spain international football player. He won a World Cup in 2010, won the Euros in 2012 during that Spain golden run. So one of the best teams of all time. And he played for Man United. He played for Chelsea. He's played for big, big soccer clubs all over the world. And obviously he's been a great player in those soccer clubs. So not only as an investor coming in, but he has an eye for soccer. He has an eye for football, right? Like, this dude not only can play, but he's been around the game a long time, which is just another benefit to this group of individuals and everything that this ownership group's got going on. And also, he's part of this social impact investing as well. He's the founder of Common Goal Initiative, where he pledges 1% of his salary to social causes. Also, Common Goal is a partner of Right to Dream. So bringing in individuals that already know the culture and already know part of the organization and what they're trying to build, because now we have a right to dream in San Diego. And he's also an investor outside of soccer, because he's also invested in Formula One for Alpine Racing Limited. So he knows what it takes to invest. He knows what it takes to build teams. And again, he has soccer knowledge. So loving the group right now. Like, they brought in some heavy hitters. And I just got one more shout out. Jocko Willink. I knew nothing about this human being, and I can't believe I did not stumble on this human being earlier in my life. Like, this dude is freaking awesome. So he's a San Diego resident, again, weaving back into San Diego, giving some shine to individuals from San Diego. Love it. San Diego resident, U.S. Navy SEAL officer, New York Times bestseller for extreme ownership and dichotomy of leadership. He's a leadership instructor, a speaker, and a strategic advisor, and he was in the Battle of Ramadi. Like, if this is not one of the most interesting human beings out there. So I just want to give that shout out, because number one, want to say thank you for, his service to our country, to our freedom. I also want to shout out all the individuals that are currently, part of the military, part of, the first responders, and everyone doing things to provide for freedom, save lives. Big shout out, to them and, everything they're doing, for all of us. So just big shout out. Want to make that, clear and apparent that Jocko I want to meet him. I like Juan Mata is someone I obviously want to meet. Manny Machado. I want to go, to, Kumeyaay Nation and see their culture and the beauty that is, everything, tribal. And like, it's just so cool to have such an ownership group that is such beasts, monsters. And I mean that in the kindest, highest regard you can possibly, say it in. So that to me is like, I'm jazzed of knowing what these individuals are all about and what they're bringing to San Diego and what they've already brought to San Diego for some of these individuals. So like, what does all this mean, in terms of what they're actually bringing to San Diego? Because I just kind of named some stuff of what they've done in the past. Obviously, we've talked about the Right to Dream Academy. I'll save that one for last because, again, I like the Right to Dream Academy so much. I think that one deserves a little bit of time. But how'd they start off? They came in and they did a Chrome Ball Tour. So the Chrome Ball Tour, they set up events in different parts of San Diego and different areas of San Diego. But these Chrome Ball Tours brought in little soccer tournaments. They brought in DJs. It was like this big event in the city, which brings economic opportunity, which brings vendors in. So that locality then makes money off this. There's an invigoration of economic opportunity when those types of things happen. And then they gave local artists shine at those Chrome Ball Tour events. So I love that they went into the communities first and foremost, number one, before they even really have a team on the pitch. So they were building the foundation, trying to weave themselves into the community, and their behavior is showing that, right? But also, they were attending local events. So they were at the Coronado and Escondido Christmas parades. So I just like, hey, they're out there with the community. So I love that, they held, launch parties and shopping days, at their Mission Valley store, which is an okay store. I'm not too big into it. I went there about 3-4 times. The store is okay, but also they held a watch party for the 2024 MLS Cup in North Park. Big shout out North Park. I used to live in North Park, but also the Right to Dream Academy. The Right to Dream Academy is what's so special when we're talking about social impact, because this does affect the next generation. And if you don't know like what an academy system is, I'll explain it kind of the American way we view soccer, which is, I think we need to change it. I think we do need a paradigm shift, and I think it does happen with Right to Dream. So that's why I really do think San Diego is going to be America's finest soccer city. It's going to take some time, but you and I, we all going to build this, right? Because they building it here and we need to pump it up. And so the way we view soccer in America, we view it through a school system. You play in middle school, you play in high school, you might go to college and play in college, and then maybe you get drafted into the MLS or whatever the case may be. That is cool, but also the focus and the resources usually aren't soccer oriented. You have American football, you have basketball, you have volleyball, you have tennis. You have all these other sports that are competing for funding, that are competing for its shine. And so when you go to like a high school, you might not have the best soccer team. You might not get a lot of money, right? Because maybe the football team or the basketball team's, kind of getting all the funding from maybe donors, or the school is focusing on those sports because they're the bigger sports in America. And so it becomes tough to per se compete. And, like a Christian Pulisic, when he was in high school, he ended up then going overseas and playing overseas. And so, that's one thing that I think has always been missing. And what an academy system is, and I'm going to explain it kind of, how they do it in Europe a little bit, because they sign kids really, really young. They'll sign kids at like 8-9 years old sometimes. And then they sign these kids, they come to the academy, and this academy is kind of like a boarding school where they focus on soccer, like all day, every day, live, breathe, eat soccer. But also while they're at this academy, they're getting a top flight education. And I don't mean that like softly. Like they are getting full on curriculum and education to be very, very smart individuals. Usually they're learning multiple languages as well. So like this is a huge impact. But the thing is, when you're at an academy and you're immersed in this, you're probably going to have the best opportunity to be one of the best players, because that's what you're focused on. Whereas again, sometimes in high school, sometimes in middle school, even in college, you're pulled in so many different directions. There might not be funding. Those types of things might hurt your development. And so that's why you get European teams, because they'll get players from all over the world, or, young kids from all over the world, bring them into their academy, grow them through their academy until they go professional. And sometimes you sell those individuals when, they're a little bit older, in the sense of like, okay, maybe they don't fit on our team, but we allowed them to grow as a soccer player. So now another team wants them. And so you're able to sell, and then, you're a business at the end of the day. So you do make money off that. Man United, Chelsea FC, Barcelona has just an amazing academy. Lamine Yamal, Messi, Busquets, tons of people, came through, academy and were some of the best players in the world, right? And so that to me is a big difference. You do see academies here, LA Galaxies and other clubs. It's not uncommon. However, what I don't think is they don't have the international roots, because the Right to Dream Academy, again, started in 1990 in Ghana, but is also in Denmark, in Egypt, and now in San Diego. You're talking about a network of international players that could potentially go maybe from a Right to Dream in Denmark or Ghana to San Diego FC. And so San Diego FC, their age range and the academy students that they work with are aged 11 through 18, right? And another thing that I absolutely love is, irrespective of how these youngsters are playing on the field, San Diego FC will not kick anyone out. Once you get into the SDFC Academy, you are guaranteed a 5-year scholarship. Regardless of anything, you're still getting an absolutely phenomenal education. And you know what they're trying to do? So they're trying, and I'm going to read this, forgive me, but they envision this as a holistic experience designed to nurture talent both on and off the pitch. So they've said they're trying to build good character. They're trying to build good people. And I love that. And just to give you a heads up, one awesome, this is awesome. Emmanuel Boateng, who is currently on San Diego FC's roster, was one of the individuals that was part of the Right to Dream Academy in Ghana. He grew up in a village that did not have running water. It did not have electricity. Goes to the Right to Dream, absolutely dominates, getting awards, then going, to, European clubs, which, I think teams like Man City were after him, and, so many big clubs are after him, and he has had a great soccer career. Does that happen without Right to Dream? Does that change his life? Not only his life, his family's life, but also his community's life of giving back. That's the impact. That is more than talking. That is showing what they are all about. And again, this episode is to absolutely give SDFC, their ownership group, what they're building, all of their flowers, because they deserve the flowers. Game recognized game. But I told you, your boy hot. I'm hot, because there's some things I don't feel that were greatly executed, but they're also very superficial things, some of which I think can be fixed. But as far as an organization, y'all deserve flowers. I love having y'all in San Diego. I love having y'all in this city, because I love this city. I love soccer, but I love this city. This city's given me so much. So give SDFC the flowers, and no matter what happens in the other episode when you watch me and I'm a little hot, just know this is the most important part for me. This is the most important part. Building strong organization, reciprocal relationships with the community, reciprocal relationships with the people is absolutely what is needed. And this is how business should be done. So, it is time for us to step up to the penalty spot. Time for us to bury that ball in the back of the net. Because it's time to turn San Diego into America's finest soccer city. The organization is doing their part. Us fans, us residents, everyone needs to do their part to pump up this organization, to show this organization that we support them just as much as they support us in our city. And that Mike Gio is never scared to step up to that penalty spot. Are you?